Welcome to the Stressless Eating Podcast, where we help diet-obsessed and food-crazed women break themselves out of the food and body prison, end the dieting madness, and take control of their health for good. I'm your host, Leanne Ellington, and this podcast is about answering one question. How can you heal your relationship with food and your body and take a practical approach to this whole self-love journey, but without all that restriction, obsession, and shame, and without needing years of therapy to do so? If you want to know the answer, you're in the right place. All this information is 100% free, so please subscribe to and review our podcast. Hi, I'm Leanne, and I'm going to be your guide on this whole stressless eating journey. But before we dive into the meat of the episodes, I figured I would tell you a bit about who I am and why the heck you should listen to me. Specifically, how I discovered this whole stressless eating concept. I've been dieting since I was a kid. I got taken to my first Weight Watchers meeting when I was 8 years old. And from there on out, food became personal and food became emotional. It's also when I started viewing food as something that needed to be weighed, measured, accounted for, obsessed over, or I was putting it into a category of good, bad, right, wrong, healthy, unhealthy, on plan, off plan, whatever words I was using, and it just got worse from there. I carried it with me into my teenage years and all the way into adulthood. So there I was in my mid-20s, and not only was I extremely overweight for my age, but I had developed this really addictive and controlling relationship with food and a judgmental, self-critical, shameful relationship with myself. Depression was a regular visitor of mine, and you can imagine how this impacted my confidence and my self-esteem. So fast forward to later in my 20s, where I finally hit my first enough is enough point. And through a lot of wrong ways and some of the right ways, I went on and lost a lot of weight. This even inspired me to start my first business working with women on their own weight loss journeys. But here's the thing. I learned the same eat less, move more equation that I'm assuming you probably learned. And even though, technically I did lose the weight, I never addressed my addiction to food and sugar, and I felt like I was a slave to dieting or a slave to exercise because I was bouncing from one extreme to the other, like I would diet and restrict until I couldn't take it anymore, and then I'd move to the polar opposite, carefree abandonment, eating whatever I could get my hands on, and then, of course, feeling guilty or trying to out-exercise my overeating. And this caused me to live on that up and down, all or nothing results roller coaster. I was the opposite of free. I was also the opposite of happy. I mean, you would think that after I lost a third of my body weight, I would feel beautiful and happy and free and all those things that the magazines told me I'd feel, right? But because I didn't address the self-image and the body image that was causing me to think and act and feel and behave like I was fat or ugly, a failure, destined to stay this way forever. Again, whatever words I was using at the time. So I lost the weight, but I brought all of my old habits, old thinking, and old behaviors with me. Long story, a little less long. The year I turned 30, I had my next big epiphany, and I realized that I was never going to be able to out-diet, outwork, or outsmart my self-image, that I was always going to end up right back in alignment with the wiring in my brain. So I made a bold decision at the time, and I vowed to ditch all of the band-aids, the quick fixes, and all that motivational rah-rah, and just take a more scientific approach to my struggles. I went on a journey and I healed my relationship with food, and I healed my relationship with my body. I decided I was done being a total bitch to myself, judging myself, comparing myself, trying to perfect myself. That was what was weighing me down and bogging me down and perpetuating the problem. That's the weight of the weight that I speak of, and you're going to hear me speak about a lot. And once I ditched that weight and, of course, created a better strategy, that's when the resistance faded and the healing really began. And that's when happiness and peace of mind and freedom finally showed up for me. So Over time, I started incorporating that into the work that I was doing with my clients. I was able to distill it down and see what was working for me, but also what was working for my top achieving clients. Like, who were they being that the other women weren't? And so you can imagine that after working with thousands of women over the years, I started noticing some patterns. Like, they were undeniable. And these concepts, principles, and philosophies that I'm going to share with you, they changed everything for me. And once I started teaching them to my clients, it changed everything for them too. They started transforming faster, more easily, and with less resistance than ever before, because just like you, they didn't have a food problem or a willpower problem. It was a thinking problem. It was a brain thing. And so the bottom line is this. There are some major mindset shifts and really just shifts in your thinking that you must make if you want to conquer your battle with food in your body for good. And I want to reiterate that, for good, as in be done with this whole food and body thing for good, like permanently, right? And so I'm going to walk you through all of them right here on the Stressless Eating Podcast. The women's health world is letting you down, throwing more and more diets and short-term band-aids at you, giving you endless ways to lose weight and get results in the short run, but wiring your brain for failure in the long run, giving you only part of the story, telling you that it's a food problem or a body problem or a motivation or willpower problem. And there's a major cost to this. Because not only are the majority of women on this planet still feeling overweight, unhealthy, and more uncomfortable in their bodies, but they're also still not able to create consistent, sustainable, or permanent results. And in turn, we're getting even unhealthier, unhappier, and even more confused. And living on this roller coaster day in, day out, it feels like the definition of insanity, leaving any woman to feel weakened, powerless, hopeless, and fearful that this is the new normal. Not to mention all of that shame, blame, guilt, comparisonitis, self-rejection, and perfectionism that it causes. But it does not have to be this way. And you shouldn't have to live like this. You don't have to stay locked inside a food and body and diet prison any longer. And you shouldn't have to sacrifice health for happiness or happiness for health ever again. Now, I feel your pain. You heard my story. I used to live in a food, body, diet, pain, and shame prison every single day. I remember what it's like to feel powerless and out of control and hopeless and have the world keep throwing more diets at you. And I know what it's like to finally get past that and find the freedom to eat and live and just be free. I understand your struggle on a gut, heart, and soul level, and I've mastered the skills you must learn to overcome it and get out of this food and body prison for good. But I'm here to make sure that your path is smoother and faster and lighter because I went down what I call the weighted road. I listened to the same advice that you're getting, like, eat less, move more, or calories in, calories out, or no pain, no gain. And it cost me big time. My own cost of skinny, as I call it, was major spine surgery, a controlling, obsessive relationship with food, and living with what I call a fat head. Even after I lost a third of my body weight, I still was not happy. And it's only because I skipped the most crucial step. I never went in and addressed my relationship with food, my relationship with my body, and the self-image that was embedded deep down in my brain that was causing me to think and act and feel and behave like I was fat or ugly or a failure or unlovable or, again, all the things that I was saying at the time. I never addressed what was causing my horrible relationship with food, the dysmorphic relationship with my body, and the horrific relationship with myself. And that's when I knew I had to take a radically different approach because I couldn't live like that even one day longer. I went from the business of the body to the business of the brain, and it completely transformed my life. Only then was I able to start finding true health, true happiness, self-love, and freedom. I call it self-imaging. And now I'm on a mission to make sure other women don't make the same mistakes that I did. I want to help you break out of the food, body, and diet prison, end the dieting madness, and take control of your health for good. Because most women, they think they have to make a choice, like either live in a body that they don't love or hate who they have to be, what they have to do, or how they have to feel to get the one that they do want. But I believe there's a third option, because you shouldn't have to sacrifice your happiness for your health. Every woman deserves to know what life is like when you ditch the restriction, the control, the punishment, and the obsession and break yourself out of the food and body prison for good. Because if loving warm chocolate chip cookies is wrong, I don't want to be right. Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you like what you heard and you're interested in breaking out of your own food, body, and diet prison, here's what I want you to do next. Head on over to stresslesseating.com. That's stresslesseating.com and sign up to watch the Stressless Eating webinar, where I'll walk you through the exact 5-step game plan my female clients use to conquer emotional eating, self-sabotage, and finally heal themselves from the restrictive all-or-nothing diet mentality for good, but without obsessing or spending years in therapy to address it. I've laid it all out for you there in 5 easy steps. Remember, healing your relationship with food and your body does not happen by itself. You need expert guidance to make it happen, and we've helped clients all over the world take back their power from the food and find true and lasting freedom, while enjoying life and warm chocolate chip cookies along the way. To see if we can help you do the same, head on over to stresslesseating.com. I'm Leanne Ellington, and I'll see you next time.